They said I disappeared. They told everyone I walked away, held a memorial, lit candles. But they always knew exactly where I was. So one day I rang the doorbell. Ever been erased by the people who were supposed to love you most? Grab a warm drink, take a deep breath, and let me tell you what really happened. It's strange, standing in front of a house that used to feel like home and realizing the people inside would rather pretend you never existed. Elena Rivers shivered as the wind cut across her bare cheeks, the kind of cold that sinks into your bones. Her gloved hand hovered in midair, finger just inches from the doorbell. Just one press, and everything would change. Again. She stared at the wreath on the front door, cheerful, festive, and utterly fake. Like the people inside. They told the world I disappeared, but they always knew exactly where I was. Her reflection in the glass beside the door stared back at her. She looked different now. Older, sharper, tired in a way you can't measure in hours. Her dark hair was tied back, her coat cinched tight, her lips painted a shade bolder than her mother ever approved of. 1 year ago, this doorstep had been off limits by her own decision. Not anymore. It started the week before Thanksgiving. Elena was sitting on her apartment floor, laptop open, candles lit, jazz humming through her speakers while Riley made pasta in the kitchen. It had been a peaceful evening, until her phone buzzed. Wait, didn't your mom say you'd been missing? She blinked at the message from an old friend she hadn't spoken to in months. Missing since November? Are you okay? At first, she laughed. It had to be a joke. Maybe someone misunderstood. Maybe her mom had said we haven't heard from her, and it spiraled. But then the screenshots came. A Facebook post, a church bulletin board, a prayer request. Please keep our daughter in your thoughts. We haven't heard from her since she walked away from the Lord. We don't know where she is, but we pray she finds her way home. Elena's stomach dropped. She scrolled, heart pounding, as Riley peeked out from the kitchen. You okay? Elena didn't answer. She was already dialing, straight to voicemail, again, blocked. She switched to texting. Nothing, she messaged her sister. Delivered, but no response. That was the moment it clicked. Not slowly, not gently, but like a light snapping off in a dark room. They hadn't lost her. They'd erased her. 1 month earlier, Elena had come out to her family, not on purpose. She wasn't trying to cause drama, just living her life. A soft photo on Instagram, her and Riley at a bookstore, hands tangled, smiles honest. 20 minutes after the post went up, her phone blew up. First, her sister. What are you doing? Take it down. Then her mom. You're embarrassing us. We raised you better. Her father didn't say anything, just sent a Bible verse. Elena was calm, firm. I'm not hiding anymore. They exploded. Calls, threats, tears, silence. She told them she wouldn't come home for Thanksgiving that year. Her voice didn't shake. Riley stood beside her, holding her hand. They didn't beg her to come. They didn't ask why. They just stopped. By December, it was clear. She'd been scrubbed. From family group chats, untagged in old Facebook photos, blocked from her mom's account entirely. A digital death, engineered with precision. At first, she cried, not for what she lost, but for what she never really had. Her family had always been a tightrope act, conservative, status-obsessed. Her mother was the queen of appearances, her father, the silent enforcer. Their love had terms, quiet ones, unspoken but loud as hell. Be good, be modest, be the girl they wanted. Don't talk back, don't be dramatic. Don't make them uncomfortable, and whatever you do, don't make them ashamed. She had failed all of it. By loving Riley, she'd chosen truth over loyalty, and in return, they'd chosen image over her. She pressed her back against the cold stone porch now, inhaling sharply. The porch light flickered on. Someone was moving inside. Was she really about to do this? Return like a ghost? Force them to look her in the eye? Force them to say her name? Her hand moved to her coat pocket. Inside was the letter. Her father's. Handwriting, folded twice, delivered by her aunt months later. We couldn't face the truth. I'm sorry for what we've said. We just wanted to protect the family. Protect them from what? From her? From the idea that love could look different than theirs? Elena stared at the door again, heart pounding. They had crafted a story without her consent, played the role of grieving parents while she built a life from scratch. She wasn't missing. She was thriving, in spite of them. Her hand curled into a fist, then relaxed. She stepped forward. Her finger pressed the doorbell. The chime echoed inside like a shot across a battlefield. They cut her off, but she was never gone. She just stopped, waiting for permission to exist. A week after Elena rang the doorbell, she got a message from someone she hadn't spoken to in years. It was Kara, her old theater buddy from high school. The girl who once shared granola bars backstage and cried over college rejections in Elena's car. Hey, weird question, the message began. But are you okay? Alive? Elena blinked at the screen. Before she could reply, another message dropped. I just saw something. I thought maybe it was some kind of tribute. But then, the next photo made Elena drop her coffee mug, a slideshow, a church altar, candles, and in the center of it all, her senior photo, framed in silver, the one with her head tilted, chin tucked, eyes hopeful. The caption under the photo read, "We miss her every day. She would have been 28 this year." Elena stared at the screen in disbelief, barely noticing the spreading coffee across the floor. They hadn't just blocked her, they buried her. Her phone buzzed again. A voice memo this time. Kara's voice was tight, nervous. I didn't want to send this, but I thought you should know. Elena pressed play. A woman's voice filled the silence, amplified by a church microphone. Her mother, sobbing. We lost her, to rebellion, to choices that broke our hearts. We tried to save her, but she wouldn't listen. And now she's gone. The crowd murmured their sympathy in the background, the soft swell of piano chords, a faint sniffle. Someone whispered a prayer. Elena's body went cold. She pressed stop. For a moment, the only sound in her apartment was her own heartbeat, pounding against her ribs like it wanted to break out of her chest. Gone? They said she was gone? They didn't just erase her from their lives. They held a full-blown memorial, built a grief-soaked fantasy where they got to be the victims, parents who tried their best and lost their daughter to sin. A lie. Polished. Performed. Applauded. And no one, not a single person, questioned it. Elena slumped onto the floor, her back pressed against the fridge door. Her fingers trembled as she opened her photo app. There it was, a selfie from 2 weeks ago. Her and Riley, sipping bubble tea, laughing about something ridiculous. Elena had freckles from the sun and mascara smudged under one eye. That girl was alive, very much alive. But in her parents' world, that girl never existed. She wasn't the struggling freelancer juggling 3 gigs, sleeping on a futon, picking up copywriting jobs at 3 a.m. just to stay afloat. She wasn't the woman who had clawed her way up from a dorm couch with nothing but a cracked laptop and raw determination. She wasn't a survivor. She was a symbol of shame, of rebellion, of what happens when you step out of line. Flashback. 1 year earlier. Elena sat in a stranger's apartment, living out of a suitcase, unsure where her next meal was coming from. Her phone lit up with a message from a recruiter, another rejection. She shoved it under her pillow, her throat dry from disappointment and silence. She'd been kicked out, not with violence, with a cold shoulder and a closed door. You can come back when you're ready to change. That was the last thing her mother said. She remembered scrolling past job ads, sending resumes to places she barely recognized, bartending until 3 a.m. just to afford instant noodles and subway fare. Riley helped where she could, but Elena insisted on paying rent. Pride was all she had left. At night, she'd lie awake staring at the ceiling and whisper the same sentence like a prayer. You left me, but I'm still here. Now, hearing her, Mother weep crocodile tears to a crowd of loyal churchgoers. It cracked something open. They weren't mourning her. They were mourning control. And now they got sympathy, compassion, platters of casseroles and folded hands and soft condolences. Meanwhile, Elena had fought tooth and nail for every inch of peace she had. While they wept over a lie, she whispered, aloud, voice steadying. I was rebuilding a life they never wanted to see. She picked up the phone again, opened her notes app. At the top, she typed, Episode 1, The Funeral I Didn't Attend. She stared at it for a moment, and then she smiled, because this wasn't the end. It was the beginning. The day Elena clicked publish on her first blog post, she half expected silence. Maybe a cruel comment or two. Maybe nothing at all. The title stared back at her from the screen, buried but breathing. That was the name she gave the query, blog. It had come to her in the middle of the night, somewhere between anger and exhaustion. A phrase that lived in her chest for months. She didn't use her full name, not yet. The stories were written like letters to the void, snapshots of what it felt like to be erased while still alive. But when she posted the third entry, everything changed. It was titled, My Family Held a Memorial for Me. I'm Not Dead. I'm Just Gay. In it, Elena recounted everything. The day her mother found out about Riley. The Thanksgiving silence, the slideshow, the fake obituary, every detail laid out, raw and without apology. She hit publish at 2 a.m., not thinking much of it. Just needing to release the truth into the world, even if no one read it. But by 10 a.m., the views had passed 20,000. By noon, the server crashed. By dinner, her inbox was flooded. Strangers sent messages from all corners of the world. Teens from small towns. Adults in their 40s, still healing from families that called their love a sin. People who had been excommunicated, ghosted, shamed into silence. One message simply read, They didn't bury you. They revealed themselves. Another said, Thank you for giving language to my grief. I'm not dead either. Not dead, just erased. Started trending on TikTok within 48 hours. Users shared duets of Elena's quotes, read in soft tones over sad piano music. Others danced defiantly with captions like, Came out to my parents. They held a prayer circle. Still gay. Within a week, Elena was invited to speak on 2 podcasts, one LGBTQ+ centered and another focused on cult recovery. I never thought I'd find community like this, she said in one interview. But maybe that's the thing. When your family tries to silence you, the world gives you a mic. It wasn't just about the followers or shares. It was about reclaiming space. Every story she told was a brick. Every repost was a window cracked open. Every thank you for writing this was a reminder that she wasn't alone, and never had been. One night, while responding to comments, Elena's phone lit up with a number she didn't recognize. Something told her not to ignore it. Chom. Answered. Elena? The voice was hesitant, older, familiar in a distant, not unpleasant way. This is Aunt Mel, your mom's younger sister. Elena's chest tightened. She hadn't heard that name in years. I've been reading, Mel said. I knew something was off, but I didn't know how bad it got. There was a pause. Then, they never believed you were missing, you know. Not for a second. They just let people believe it. Elena didn't say anything. I have something, Mel continued. Your dad, he wrote you a letter, months after you left. Never sent it. I don't know why I kept it, but, well, I think it's yours. 3 days later, a weathered envelope arrived in the mail. No return address. Just her name and handwriting. She hadn't seen since high school birthday cards. She stared at it for 10 minutes before opening it. The letter was dated 8 months after she'd been cut off. It read, Elena, I don't know how to start this without sounding like a coward, so maybe I'll just say it. I'm sorry. Your mother said it was better to let you go, that we needed to protect the family image. I didn't agree, but I didn't fight hard enough either. I should have. We told people you were gone, not dead, just lost. That was the lie I could live with. But then came the slideshow. The candles, the performance. I stood there and said nothing. I thought silence would hurt less. I was wrong. I miss you every day, and I don't expect forgiveness. But I need you to know, I never stopped loving you. Dad, the paper trembled in her hands. She didn't cry. Not right away. She felt something colder, sharper, a click inside her ribs, like the final puzzle piece locking into place. I have all the proof I need, she whispered. Not just the letter, not just the blog, not just the screenshots, the photos, the emails, the unanswered calls. She had the truth, and more importantly, she had her voice back. That night, she posted a photo of the letter on her blog, redacted, just enough to protect his privacy. But the caption read, "They said I disappeared, but they knew where I was all along. They just didn't want to face the version of me that wouldn't shrink." Her community exploded with support. Some offered legal help. Others sent resources for queer family estrangement. A few reached out with personal stories of reconnection, and many more with stories of painful but necessary distance. Elena didn't know what would come next, but for the first time in years, the future felt like hers again. She wasn't buried. She was breaking ground. Elena stood outside the house she used to call home, its windows lit up like a stage set. The lawn was lined with rental cars and elegant floral centerpieces. A white banner hung across the front porch. 50 years of love, a legacy of family, she almost laughed. Underneath her black coat, she wore a simple dark dress. Her lipstick was a shade of red her mother had always hated. Too loud, she used to say. Tonight, Elena wore it like war paint. She took a breath, felt the chill of winter bite at her fingers, then pressed the doorbell. Inside, music played. Glasses clinked. Laughter floated toward her through the front windows. Then, the door creaked. Open! A server in a white button-down blinked at her, confused. Can I help you? No need, Elena said with a calm smile brushing past. I'm family. She stepped into the foyer, and for a second, the warmth of the room, the chandelier glow, the mingled scent of perfume and catered food, hit her like a wave of memory. It could have been comforting, but it wasn't. The music didn't stop. Not yet. She walked deeper in, her heels clicking on polished tile. She passed cousins in suits, aunts holding glasses of red wine. Some glanced her way with polite confusion, then narrowed their eyes in disbelief. Near the center of the room, under a photo slideshow of 50 beautiful years together, her mother stood with a glass of champagne raised mid-toast. That's when she saw Elena. The glass slipped from her fingers and shattered on the hardwood. The room froze. Her father turned, eyes locking on Elena like he'd seen a ghost. His face drained of color. Somebody call 911. A voice whispered behind her. There's a ghost at the door. A few guests laughed nervously. No one moved. Elena didn't flinch. She stepped forward, slow, deliberate, holding a manila envelope in one hand. Her voice rang clear, cutting through the tension like a bell. Before you lie to everyone again, you should read what he wrote. Her mother's jaw clenched. You're not supposed to be here. No, Elena said softly. I was never supposed to come back. She held out the envelope to her father. But you wrote this. You just didn't send it. His hands trembled as he took it. Gasps rippled through the room. Read it, Elena said, not unkindly. I think they all deserve to hear it. Her mother snapped, This is manipulation. Her sister, standing quietly near the dessert table, looked down and away. She didn't say a word. A distant aunt began muttering a prayer under her breath. Her father opened the envelope with shaking fingers, pulled out the pages, and then quietly began to read. His voice was rough, hesitant, but unmistakably his. Elena, I don't know how to start this without sounding like a coward. We told people you were gone. Not dead, just lost. That was the lie I could live with. But then came the slideshow, the candles, the performance. I stood there and said nothing. I thought silence would hurt less. I was wrong. I miss you every day. I never stopped loving you. As he read, the room shifted. Gasps turned to whispers. A cousin covered her mouth. Another looked away, red-faced. One uncle stepped out quietly. When the letter ended, silence followed. Until Elena spoke. "I didn't disappear," she said, voice steady. "You just couldn't handle the version of me you didn't approve of." Her mother stepped forward, lips pressed into a thin line. "You chose that life. You turned your back on us." Elena looked at her, eyes soft but unyielding. "No," she said. "I chose honesty. I chose love. You chose image." Someone in the back started crying. Elena didn't turn to see who. Another relative began praying louder, voice cracking. "Her." Mother tried again, more desperate this time. "You don't get to walk in here and ruin everything just because—" "I'm not here to ruin anything," Elena said. "I'm here to stop pretending. You've told your version long enough." A child whispered to their mom, "Is that the daughter from the picture?" Her mom nodded slowly, stunned. Elena turned to her sister, who had yet to say a word. "You knew?" Elena said. "You stood there at that church and let them eulogize me. You wore my necklace." Her sister finally looked up, eyes wet, full of guilt, but still silent. Elena didn't wait for an answer. Instead, she stepped back, looked across the crowd of stunned faces. Some shocked, some ashamed, some just confused. "Don't worry," she said, her voice calm. "I'm not staying. I don't want your cake or your apology. I'm not here to be accepted." She turned toward the door. "But just so we're clear," she said over her shoulder, "I'm not gone, and I never was." No one stopped her as she walked through the hall, past the stunned relatives, the polished floors, the floral arrangements. The past. Her heels clicked softly against the marble, like punctuation marks. She didn't slam the door behind her. She didn't need to. The silence she left in her wake was loud enough. 6 months later. The loft was quiet, flooded with morning light. Floor-to-ceiling windows wrapped around Elena's minimalist apartment, giving her a panoramic view of the city slowly waking up. Below, traffic whispered through the streets. Above, the sky shifted from steel blue to soft gold. Elena stood barefoot by the window, a warm mug of coffee cradled in her hands. The steam curled upward, carrying the scent of dark roast and the quiet rhythm of a life entirely her own. On the wall behind her, framed in a simple black border, hung the original blog post that had changed everything. My family held a memorial. For me. I'm not dead. I'm just gay. Below it, a plaque reading, Published 2026, National Bestseller. Buried but Breathing had gone from anonymous blog to viral post to a memoir that now sat on bookstore shelves nationwide. It was raw, unfiltered, and it had struck a nerve, not just with LGBTQ+ readers, but with anyone who had ever been silenced by the people who were supposed to love them the most. Her inbox overflowed daily. Subject lines like, "You saved my life." "Thought I was alone. Thank you for being the voice I never had." Sometimes she answered, sometimes she just read and cried. But every message reaffirmed what she already knew. She hadn't just reclaimed her voice, she had built a lighthouse. At the heart of it all was the Unclaimed, her nonprofit, a resource hub for LGBTQ+ youth estranged from family. The organization offered therapy stipends, emergency housing grants, mentorship programs, and, most importantly, a digital community where no one had to feel invisible again. She hired staff from all walks of life, many who, like her, had been cut off and cast out, but had fought to carve their own place in the world. They were the unclaimed. Now, they claimed each other. Each week, Elena spoke at universities, churches, conferences, anywhere someone needed to hear that being disowned didn't mean being defeated. Her story wasn't about vengeance. It was about survival, reinvention, strength. The ghost they tried to bury, she often said in her talks, built a lighthouse so others would never feel that alone again. That morning, as she checked the mail, a thin envelope caught her eye. No return address. But the handwriting on the front was unmistakable. She opened it slowly. Inside, a card, soft floral pattern, faded cursive. "We're sorry. We'd like to talk." Love, Mom. There was no rage, no dramatic music swelling, just a breath. Elena looked at the card for a long moment, then walked to the kitchen and dropped it gently into the trash. She didn't even watch it fall. She didn't need closure from people who had already written her off. Her closure was in every life she touched, every morning she woke up without fear, every young person who found the unclaimed and realized they weren't broken, just buried, and now they had space to rise. Final scene. Elena stands on her rooftop just before dawn, wrapped in a soft gray sweater. The skyline stretches out in front of her, city lights blinking their last before sunlight swallows them whole. The air is crisp, hopeful. She closes her eyes and lets the breeze tangle her hair. For the first time in a long time, there's no weight pressing on her chest, no echo of doubt. She made it. She made herself, and as the first rays of sun light up the horizon, she smiles, soft, certain, unshakable. Final line. They cut me off, but I rebuilt myself from scratch. Now, I don't need their door. The whole world is wide open.